Hoy vamos a estar
we're going to discuss our fourth installment of
Vamos a estar hablando de nuestra cuarta etapa
Govardhana Melos.
en las Melosidades de Govardhana.
So we'll review just a little bit. We'll have a brief recap of some of the things that we've discussed.
Vamos a
I
repasar
think
un
that everyone
poquito,
who's here has heard most of what I
recapitular
had to say.
lo que hemos ido hablando. Creo que la mayoría de los que estamos
So
aquí
in our first meeting, we talked about
hemos escuchado
Madhavendra Puri.
acerca de las clases. La primera clase hablamos acerca de Madhavendra
We
Puri.
talked about what a wonderful devotee he was and how he
Hablamos
had
acerca de qué tan
traveled to
maravilloso
Vrindavan.
devoto era y su
There
viaje
chanting and chanting and
a Vrindavan, donde cantaba y cantaba.
Govindakund.
Se quedó en el
And he bathed at
Govindakund
Govindakund, and some of the ladies from
y se bañó ahí.
Vrindavan, they saw him
Y
there
algunas
went back to
de las señoras de Vrindavan lo vieron
Krishna's place and said,
y
there's
fueron a donde Krishna
some
y le
devotee
dijeron,
staying there at the
hay un devoto
Govindakund, maybe you should take him
que se
some
está quedando
milk.
en el
So
Govindakund,
Krishna
quizás se deba llevarle algo de leche.
went and took a pot of milk for Madhavendra
Entonces,
Puri and asked,
Krishna
who are
fue, le
you?
llevó
What kind of meditation
una
are you
vasija
doing? And
con leche
Madhavendra Puri
a Madhavendra
replied,
Puri y le
who
preguntó,
are you?
y le
And
preguntó quién eres, qué
what village
tipo de
do you come
meditación
from?
estás haciendo.
And,
Y Madhavendra Puri le preguntó,
this,
¿quién eres tú? ¿Y
beautiful cowherd boy,
de qué aldea
Krishna, he
vienes?
said, I'm a cowherd boy.
Y este hermoso
I live in
vaquero
this
que era
village,
Krishna le dijo, soy un vaquerito de esta
and I
aldea
take care of anybody who doesn't take care of themselves.
y me hago
Basically,
cargo de todas las personas que no se hacen
in
cargo
my
de sí
village,
mismas,
nobody
básicamente.
fasts, and some
En mi
people
aldea no hay nadie que pase hambre
have an ordinary course of
y hay
working
algunas
for some
personas
livelihood, and they feed themselves, and some people feed themselves by begging some alms from others.
que
But
se
if
alimentan
somebody doesn't do
mendigando,
anything
otras
like
personas
that,
que se
then I
alimentan
make sure to take care of them.
mediante el trabajo,
And,
pero hay algunas personas que no lo hacen y yo me hago cargo de ellos. Y después
that cowherd boy, he said,
el vaquerito dijo,
I'll return to get this pot from you after you finished. And he never did. And Madhavendra Puri was left there
voy a regresar a buscar esta vasija con la que termines, pero nunca regresó.
And then,
y Madhavendra Puri estaba
and
buscándolo,
then during that night, he had a beautiful dream where the deity of
tuvo un sueño hermoso
Gopal appeared to him and said, I'm living in this bush.
en el que Gopal
And
se le
years
aparecía
ago, when
y le
the
decía, estoy viviendo en este
fled
arbusto
from an
durante
attack
años.
from the Muslim,
Y el Pujari,
attack from some Muslims.
el Pujari que sufrió un ataque
The
de
Pujari hid me in this
musulmanes
bush and then fled for his own
me
life.
escondió
And
en
I've been living in this bush for a long
estos
time, and I'm
arbustos.
suffering the
Y desde
heat,
aquel
and the cold,
momento
and the rain,
estoy
and the
viviendo
wind.
entre los arbustos y estoy
And
sufriendo
it
el
would be
calor,
wonderful if you
el
get some
agua.
other
Y sería
local people
maravilloso
and
si
come and find
pudieras
me.
traer gente local y buscarme.
And so Madhavendra Puri woke
Y
from his
entonces Madhavendra
dream
Puri
and went into
se
the village
despertó de
and
su sueño, fue a la
inspired the
aldea
villagers, and they went
y motivó a los
through the
aldeanos
forest, and
para que
they
fueran a
found the
través del
Gopal
bosque
deity
y encontraran a la
and
deidad
dug
de
him out
Gopal.
from under the bush where
Lo
that
sacaran
same
debajo de
cowherd boy
los arbustos,
had guided Madhavendra Puri in the night.
el mismo arbusto en el cual el
And
vaquerito
then
le había
Madhavendra
llevado
Puri
a Madhavendra Puri en el
installed
sueño. Y
the
después
deity of
Madhavendra
Gopal
Puri
on the top of Govardhana Hill on a
instaló
big stone.
la deidad de
And
Gopal en
for
una
days
gran
and
piedra
days they celebrated the
en la cima de la
Annakut
colina de
festival.
Govardhana.
And
Y hasta el día de hoy se celebra el festival de instalación.
devotees from all over came
Devotos
day after day to see the deity of
Devotos
Gopal
de todas
and to
partes
help in the
fueron
bathing ceremony and
llegando para
offer
ver la deidad,
all of
ver
what they had. They were
ceremonia
offering all of their
del baño,
stock of grain and all their stock
de
of
todas
rice,
las ofrendas de
bringing
alimentos que se
milk
le estaban
products
ofreciendo, arroz, productos de leche,
and bathing the deity
y bañando la deidad.
And then in our next class we
Y
discussed
después en la siguiente
Lord
clase
Chaitanya
hablamos acerca
and
del Señor Chaitanya
and his travels through
y sus
Vrindavan.
viajes a
And Lord
Vrindavan.
Chaitanya had wanted to be,
Los
he
viajes
wanted
en
to
los que
travel to Vrindavan
el Señor Chaitanya quería viajar,
for a long time.
quería realizar estos viajes
And there'd been
desde hace mucho tiempo
he'd had some trouble getting there, but
y tuvo ciertos inconvenientes para llegar ahí,
he finally took permission from
pero finalmente tuvo permiso
I think Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya
de Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya
and Ramananda Roy
y Ramananda
while he
Roy
was there in Jagannath Puri.
mientras se encontraba
And they
en
requested
Jagannath
him
Puri
to take
para ir, y ellos le pidieron que
a few people with him. They asked him not to go alone.
llevara ciertas
And
personas
Sanatana
con él y
Goswami,
que
of
no
course,
fuera
encouraged
solo.
him not to go with a big crowd.
Y Sanatana Goswami lo aconsejó
And so
que no
Lord
fuera
Chaitanya he went with Balabhadra
con un
Bhattacharya
grupo
and
muy grande.
another unnamed person.
Y entonces el
And
señor
then
Chaitanya
they
partió
traveled through the
con 2
Jarikanda
devotos,
forest.
viajando a través del bosque.
They spent their days and nights basically
Pasaron días y
camping.
noches,
And
básicamente
Lord
acampando.
Chaitanya was chanting all the time and
Y el señor Chaitanya estaba cantando durante toda la
enjoying
noche,
warming himself by the fire at night and bathing in the rivers, bathing in the
disfrutando la
waterfalls,
noche,
and they were chanting.
calentándose con el fuego en las noches,
And
bañándose en
then
las
as they
cascadas, en los
arrived in the
ríos,
Vrindavan area, they met
cantando.
one of the
Y cuando
disciples of
llegaron al área de
Madhavendra Puri
Vrindavan,
in a little community
conoció
called
a un
Sanodiya,
discípulo
and that
de
devotee
Madhavendra
remains
Puri.
also unnamed.
Y ese
And
devoto
so we
también
refer to him as the Sanodiya Brahmin, and
permanece desconocido su nombre, entonces nos referimos como de Brahmana de
he
Sanadiya.
was one of the Brajbasis, one of the residents of
Y
the
él era
Dham.
un Brajavasi,
And
un
so
residente del Dham.
I like to imagine that he was sort of the Lord Chaitanya's tour guide.
Y en cierta
So
forma
then they
fue
became four,
el guía turístico del señor
and they
Chaitanya.
traveled to the different places
Y viajaron a los diferentes lugares
in the Braj.
de Braj.
Lord Chaitanya went, and he also bathed at the Govinda Kund, just like Madhavendra Puri had
El señor
done.
Chaitanya llegó y se
He went
bañó
to the
también
Govardhana
en el
Hill,
Govinda Kund, así como lo había hecho Madhavendra Puri, fue a la colina de
and then while he
Govardhana.
was there,
Y mientras
he
estaba
stayed
allí,
in a little place called Gantuli Gram, and in Gantuli
se quedó
Gram,
en
the
un lugar
Gopal
llamado
deity
Kantuli Gran,
arranged for the pujari to bring
y
him down from the top of the hill, because Lord Chaitanya
la deidad de
was
Gopal
feeling full of
organizó que
reverence
un
for
pujari lo
Govardhana
llevara
Hill.
allí abajo para llegar hacia donde el señor
And so
Chaitanya.
he didn't want to walk on the hill, and so the Gopal deity arranged for him
Porque
to
el señor
come down
Chaitanya
so that Lord Chaitanya and
no quería caminar
his
por la
associates
colina. Y entonces
could take darshan from the Gopal
la
deity.
deidad organizó que fuera llevado abajo para que el señor Chaitanya y sus asociados pudieran tomar su darshan.
And then in our last meeting we talked about
Y en nuestra
the
última
glories of
clase
Raghunath Das.
hablamos acerca de las glorias de Raghunath Das.
We talked about how Raghunath Das had
Y hablamos acerca de cómo Raghunath
he was
Das
born
nació
as the son of
como el hijo
Govardhana
de Govardhana,
Majumadar, which I think is sort of like a zamindar or a big landholder.
Que creo que era como un gran
So he grew
terrateniente.
up in a wealthy family.
Y nació en una familia
And then when he became an adult, he was
adinerada.
married to a beautiful woman.
Cuando se hizo
And he had
adulto
a
se
really
casó con
nice,
una mujer
opulent life,
hermosa.
but he wasn't attracted to that opulent life, and he
Y
wanted
tenía una vida muy opulenta,
to
pero
run away and be with Lord Chaitanya.
atraído a ella, y él quería estar con el señor Chaitanya.
Govardhana and Raghunath Das' mother,
Y entonces
they tried
Govardhana y
hard to
la
keep him
madre
home.
de Raghunath Das lo querían
But Raghunath
mantener en su
Das,
casa.
he kept leaving home, and he would
Pero
sneak
Raghunath
off in the
Das
night.
solía
They would
escaparse
send
por las
different
noches
people to basically capture him and force him to come home.
y los padres llamaban a personas para que lo capturaran y
He
lo
kept
forzaran a regresar
running
a casa.
away.
Y eventualmente él seguía escapándose.
His father Govardhana said that there's
Y su padre
no
Govardhana
reason for us to
dijo,
keep trying to
no hay razón
keep him here against his will. He feels
para que
compelled by
sigamos
something very deep.
intentando
He's
mantenerlo aquí en la casa.
very moved by Lord Chaitanya
Él está muy
and
conmovido por el
his
señor Chaitanya y
Sankirtan mission and
la misión de Sankirtan
the Bhakti mission
y la
that
misión
Lord
del
Chaitanya is
Bhakti
on.
del
Raghunath,
señor
there's no
Chaitanya.
reason for us to try and keep Raghunath
Y
Das home. He's too compelled.
no hay necesidad de
He's
que
gonna leave home.
sigamos intentando mantener a
And
Raghunath
so
Das
eventually
en casa.
Raghunath Das
Eventualmente va a escapar de casa.
escaped, so to speak.
Entonces eso es lo que
and
sucedió.
went to
Él
meet Lord
escapó
Chaitanya.
básicamente y se fue a conocer al señor Chaitanya.
And when he arrived
Y cuando llegó,
in Jagannath Puri, he traveled for 12 days.
él viajó
He was a little
durante
thin
12
and
días
a little dirty from traveling through the
y venía
forest,
muy
traveling on
delgado,
the
muy sucio de
the
haber
roads and the paths.
viajado por los caminos, por el bosque.
So he was met there
Y
by Lord Chaitanya and
él fue
Swarup
recibido ahí
Damodar
por el
and
señor
some of Lord
Chaitanya, Swarup
Chaitanya's other
Damodar
associates. And Lord Chaitanya
y
encouraged him to
y
go
otros asociados.
and bathe in the sea.
Y el señor Chaitanya
And
le
then
aconsejó que fuera a bañarse en
to
el
see
mar
the deity of Lord Jagannath at the temple.
y que después fuera a ver
And
la
then
deidad del señor Jagannath en el templo.
Lord Chaitanya placed Raghunath Das in the care of Swarup Damodar.
Y el señor Chaitanya posicionó a Raghunath Das en el cuidado de Swarup
And Lord
Damodar.
Chaitanya was naturally very pleased to have Raghunath Das there. And he said, now we have
Y se encontraba
three
muy complacido
Raghunaths in
de
our
tener a
company.
Raghunath
We
Das
have
allí.
Raghunath Bhatta, who's
Y
one of
dijo
the
que
other
ahora tenía 3
famous six
Raghunath ahí.
Goswamis.
Raghunath Bhatta,
Then we have Raghunath Vaidya, and
Raghunath
now there's
Vaidya
Raghunath Das, and we
y
placed him
después
in the
Raghunath
care of
Das.
Swarup Damodar.
en el
And
cuidado
so
de
he's
Swarup Damodar.
known as the Raghunath of Swarup era
Es
Raghu.
conocido como el Raghunath de Swarup.
Just like today, we have so many different
Y creo que hoy
devotees with
incluso
similar names. We
tenemos
have,
muchos
so many
devotos con nombres
Krishna
similares.
Das and so
Krishna
many
Das,
Radharani Dasis and
Radharani Dasis,
Prabhupada Das. And
Prabhupada Das.
so
Y
the tradition sort of continues.
la tradición continúa.
And so
Entonces,
Lord Chaitanya,
el señor Chaitanya,
or excuse me, Raghunath Das wanted
Raghunath
to
Das
receive some instruction from Lord Chaitanya.
quería recibir
Lord
ciertas
Chaitanya
instrucciones
said,
del señor Chaitanya. Y el
I've
señor Chaitanya
I've placed you in
le
the charge of someone who's very qualified. Swarup Damodar Goswami is very qualified. He knows more than me.
le dijo, Swarup Damodar
I'm learning from Swarup Damodar
es muy
myself.
capacitado.
And
Yo estoy
so
aprendiendo
don't
de él
think that
mismo.
I've tried to shortchange you or
Entonces,
I'm not giving you a wonderful situation. I'm giving you the best that I can.
no te estoy dando te estoy dando la mejor situación que puedo.
And so, but Raghunath Das persisted. He's a persistent guy. You can see in his character the way he was running away from home, and, persistent and asking for Lord Chaitanya's blessing and association. So Lord Chaitanya said,
y buscó la asociación del señor Chaitanya.
But if you'd like to have some instruction from me,
y el señor Chaitanya dijo, pero
what I
si
have to
quieres
tell you
tener
is,
cierta guía de mí, lo que te voy a decir es,
don't hear about the village talk. Don't hear
no
of
escuches
the
acerca
Brahma Katha.
del katha de la aldea, de los
normal,
chismes.
Don't talk like an ordinary person.
No hables como una persona ordinaria.
Gossip and don't
te metas en chismes.
Hear too much about the rumors and the news.
No promulgues
And don't eat fancy food.
No comas
don't wear fancy clothes.
Comida muy elegante, comida muy refinada. No uses
and he
ropa muy
gave him
elegante.
one further instruction.
Y después le dio otra instrucción.
Trinadapi Sunichena, Tarorapi Sahisnuna, Amanina Amanadena, Kirtaniya Sadahari.
Kirtaniya Sadahari.
So we know that, of course, is the third verse from the Lord Chaitanya Shikshastakam prayers.
Verso de Shikshastakam, las plegarias del Señor Chaitanya.
He said, you should be more humble than a blade of grass, and be more tolerant than a tree,
que una brisna de hierba, más
be ready to offer all respect to others, and don't expect honor for oneself.
Para ofrecer respetos
and
a todos,
in such a state of mind, you can chant the holy name of the Lord
buscar
constantly.
respetos para ti mismo.
And
y cantar y de esta manera podrás cantar las glorias del Señor constantemente.
I think he also said somewhere in the course of all that you should worship Radha and Krishna within your mind. So we talked just a little bit about that. We talked about Antaranga Seva,
a Radha Krishna en su mente.
Which is Antaranga Seva means
Seva,
a very deep meditation.
Que significa una gran
where basically you have an internal life, a meditative life, and we hear about
y escuchamos
some devotees like Lord Chaitanya himself entering into this Antaranga Seva, this internal meditative life.
Entrando a esta forma meditativa de vida interna.
So I think that something like that, we may get a glimpse of that in our sadhana, in our sadhaka life, in our future. I think it happens at the point of
llegará en algún momento, creo esta forma.
Oh, I can't think of the term now. Let me go through them and we'll see if we can arrive at it.
Pero bueno, sigamos hablando.
So our devotional life begins with Shraddha. We have some faith in the Lord. We have some faith in the transcendence. And we have some faith that that's where our happiness will come from.
Y tenemos la fe de que desde allí llegará nuestra felicidad.
We get the association, we get the company
desde ahí
of sadhus and other sadhakas, and people who are like-minded.
Asociación de sadhus y de otros,
and those sadhus give us direction.
Y estos sadhus nos dan dirección.
Those other sadhakas, they also give us some direction, and
estos otros sadhakas
they become our companions and friends. Se vuelven compañeros, amigos. In the course of pursuing our devotional life.
En el curso de buscar nuestra vida devocional.
He or she, of course, gives us some
y el sadhu,
daily practices
nos da nuestras prácticas
and gives us
diarias,
direction and tells
nos
us,
da dirección,
gives us knowledge, gives us sambandha gyan,
nos da
or the
conocimiento, nos da
foundational
sambandha
knowledge about
gyan,
what is the nature of transcendence.
el conocimiento trascendental, cuál es la naturaleza de la trascendencia.
So we have sadhus and sadhakas, and that
Entonces
sadhu
tenemos sadhus,
will give us
sadhakas,
some
y los
daily
sadhus
practices, which
nos
becomes
darán
our
prácticas diarias, como
bhajana
dije,
kriya. So that's the path of
que nos
worship,
llevará a
the
Vajana
path of
Kriya,
bhajan, and that
adorar a través de nuestro Vajan.
and our path of bhajan, of course,
Y nuestro camino de
includes
Vajan incluye
9 different practices of devotional service,
nueve prácticas
beginning with
diferentes,
hearing, Shravanam,
comenzando
Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam,
con escuchar,
Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Sakyam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. And so we, as often as possible, we take advantage of all these opportunities to hear.
Que tomemos ventaja de todas estas oportunidades de escuchar.
The foundational knowledge,
acerca de Sambandha Gyan,
what is our own nature, and what is the nature of the Lord,
los fundamentos de la
what is the nature of
conciencia,
the
cuál es nuestra
world,
naturaleza, cuál es la naturaleza del
how and
Señor,
why
la
does the
naturaleza
Lord
del mundo,
appear, and
las
and
apariciones
then
del
we hear
Señor.
about the Abhideya.
Después escuchamos acerca de Avideya Tattva.
What are the practices of devotional service?
¿Cuáles son las prácticas de servicio
In both a
devocional?
regulated way and in a
De una
spontaneous
forma
way.
regulada y de forma espontánea.
And then that bhajana kriya
Y
is
después
of 2
Vajana
types.
Kriya es de 2 tipos.
And there are those types are blended, and
y estos 2 tipos están como mixados, combinados.
It's a gray area, and I used to sort of think that they were like 2 different stages.
Como 2 etapas
the
diferentes.
Stage of bhajana kriya,
la etapa
and
de
the
Vajana
stage
Kriya,
of nishta, which of course is the next stage. Nishta means very firmly fixed.
Es la siguiente etapa, que significa que uno está
I think like
muy,
when I think of fixed,
muy
I
fijo en su
often think of
práctica.
Shakespeare's Macbeth. I think that,
Creo que como Shakespeare,
and I've not read it, but I saw it as a play once,
no
and it's
lo leí,
sort of a
pero
famous quote.
vi la obra una vez y hay una frase
The
muy
king is
conocida
supposed to do some
que creo que el rey tiene
dastardly
que decir,
thing, and he doesn't really want to do
algo
it. And I think that Lady
que
Macbeth says,
no lo quiere
"Screw
hacer."
your courage to the sticking place."
Y Lady Macbeth le dice, al diablo con tu
And I
coraje
sometimes think of that when I think about
en tu lugar de
Of
comodidad.
course, we're not up to
Y a veces pienso en
any
Nishta,
dastardly thing.
cuando tengo que realizar
That's
ciertas
the
cosas
nature
como
of
esta.
being very fixed.
Pero esa es la naturaleza de estar
I guess
muy,
Krishna
muy,
says
muy fijo.
in Bhagavad Gita of immovable things, I am the Himalayas.
Krishna dice de las cosas, en el Bhagavad Gita, de las cosas inamovibles, soy
Nishta means very
soy los
fixed.
Himalayas. Entonces, Nishta significa fijo.
After practicing this Bhajana Kriya
Entonces,
in an
después de practicar
unfixed
este
way
Vajana Kriya de una
for a long
forma,
time,
de una
seems like for
forma
me a long time,
no tan fija, que para mí parece ya mucho
as
tiempo.
Padmanabha Swami has pointed out,
Y así
many
como Padmanabha
devotees feel
Swami dice,
themselves
muchos
to be
devotos
in the stage of
se
Anishta
ven
Bhajana Kriya,
en una etapa
as
de
of yet
Anishta
unfixed
Vajana
Bhajana
Kriya,
Kriya.
como
And so
un
our
Vajana Kriya que
practice
no está
goes
muy
up and
fijo,
down.
que tenemos altos y
We're
bajos,
troubled by a
tenemos
variety of things.
problemas
Sometimes
por
we're
variedad de
hot,
cosas.
and we're practicing our devotional service. We chant every day in a very
A veces
regulated
estamos
way, and we're very excited
cantando todos
about
los
devotional
días,
service.
tenemos un
And
sadhana
we
muy
apply
regulado,
ourselves very diligently, whether it's easier or whether it's hard. And then sometimes we're cold and
mantenemos
we
la
get
práctica,
distracted by
incluso si es
other
fácil o
things that go
difícil.
on in our life,
Y hay veces que estamos como
some
más distraídos con las cosas que suceden en nuestra vida,
other interests or something.
otro tipo de intereses o algo así.
And so we pursue those things, and we dedicate
Y buscamos esas cosas, le
a lot of
dedicamos
time to
tiempo,
them.
bastante tiempo a esas cosas, a la búsqueda.
But then,
Pero
so Anishta and
entonces
Nishta
está
is sort of a
Anishta y
sliding
Nishta,
scale, and we
pero
sort of vacillate
como
between the two. But
una balanza que se va
Bhajana Kriya and
equilibrando.
Nishta go hand in hand.
Y
So
Vajana
by
Kriya y
doing
Nishta
our
van
Bhajana Kriya
mano a mano.
in an unfixed way, we become purified, our hearts become purified, our interests become solidified,
nos volvemos
and
purificados,
then
nuestro corazón
we
se
sort of
purifica y nuestro interés
gradually
se
move into the
solidifica.
stage of being more and more fixed.
Y entonces
So
estamos
I
yendo
like to
cada
think
vez
that
a un
the process is
estadio
very
más
generous,
y más fijo.
and that as Guru Maharaj often points out,
Y así como Guru Maharaj a veces
bhakti
dice,
is not something that we're doing. Bhakti is something that
no
is
es algo que
doing
estamos
us.
haciendo. Bhakti es algo
Bhakti
que
is
nos está
not
haciendo a
something that's on
nosotros.
our agenda. every day
no es algo que está en
Bhakti
nuestra
has
agenda
us
día a
on
día,
her agenda.
pero sino que
And
Bhakti
so
nos tiene a nosotros en su agenda.
We're getting a lot of mercy from
Estamos recibiendo mucha misericordia
from our practice, even in an unfixed way.
Incluso de una manera
for myself, I know that I
fija en la
have made
práctica.
some progress in spite of doing bhajana kriya in an
Incluso yo mismo sé
unfixed
que he hecho
way.
cierto progreso de realizar Vajana Kriya de una forma no
I
muy
practice
fija.
bhakti in a very unsteady way a lot of times.
Practico Bhakti de una forma muy poco estable muchas veces.
I do try to chant every day.
Pero sí trato de cantar todos los días.
But to be quite honest, I sometimes chant a varying number of rounds
pero siendo honesto, a veces canto muy pocas rondas en diferentes días.
I don't hear every day.
No escucho
but that's
todos
one
los
of the
días.
easiest things to do is
Pero
to
eso
hear
es una de las cosas
Guru
más fáciles de
Maharaj
hacer.
lectures.
Escuchar las lecturas de Guru Maharaj.
That's one of the main things that
Es
I've
una de las
done.
cosas de las principales
Even if I
cosas que
didn't
he hecho.
chant at all, I would try to listen to Guru
Incluso
Maharaj's lectures, and
si
he's encouraged us in
no he
that way.
cantado, intento escuchar las clases de Guru Maharaj.
If you can't chant or you can't read
Si
or
no
you
puedes,
can't do your
él
Gayatri's
dice,
or whatever,
si no
then
puedes
at least
cantar,
try
si
to
no
hear the
puedes leer,
lectures.
por lo
And there
menos
are so many
intenta
good lectures, and
escuchar
those
las
lectures,
lecturas.
they give us Sambandha Gyan,
Y hay tantas
and they
buenas
give us
lecturas que nos da Sambandha
Abhideya
Gyan,
Gyan, and
nos
they give
da
us
Abhideya Gyan,
Prayojan
nos da
Gyan.
Prayojan Gyan.
So we have knowledge of our
Tenemos
practices, we have
conocimiento de
knowledge,
la práctica,
foundational knowledge, and we have knowledge of the
conocimiento
perfectional stage.
fundamental de
Guru Maharaj,
otras etapas.
Lately
Guru
he's
Maharaj
talking so much about our
suele
highest
hablar
prospect
mucho
of
acerca
being in a particular mellow of love with Krishna.
de estar en un humor particular de amor con Krishna.
Anyway, so
y bueno, de todas
we
maneras,
try to take advantage of all these processes of hearing and associating with our Guru Maharaj.
So
we also, by hearing,
todos estos
we get sadhu sangha, we get the
con
association of a
Guru
sadhu.
Maharaj, con
So
Sadhu
that's
Sangha.
such a powerful thing that
Y buscamos, esto es algo muy poderoso que obtenemos
sadhu
de
sangha
los
is
sadhus.
the hub on which the wheel of our bhakti goes forward.
Sadhu Sangha es el eje sobre el cual la rueda de Bhakti gira.
So many benefits are there from
muchos beneficios hay
Guru
allí.
Maharaj's lectures.
Por ejemplo,
advantage
escuchar
of what's happening here
las
on
clases
Tattva
de Guru Maharaj,
and,
de lo que se dice
so
aquí
we
en
reach
Tattva Vivek.
And then after
Entonces
Nishta,
tenemos Nishta, y después de Nishta,
which of course Guru Maharaj has emphasized as the
siempre
interim goal,
Guru
something that we
Maharaj
should
siempre
strive
dice
for, and it's sort of like a constant pouring of devotional service into our hearts and minds. We're constantly engaged there, and we hear about that kind of thing. We're constantly hearing, we're constantly chanting, we're constantly remembering, serving,
nuestra práctica devocional.
And it's kind of a, I think maybe Sridhar
Maharaj
talked about it like a constant flow of oil,
habla de
constantly pouring oil.
De una constante,
that's what it means
de llenar constantemente con
we're
aceite.
perpetually doing it. And then from
eso
Nishta,
significa
we
Nishta,
go
que
into the
estamos
stage of Ruchi.
constantemente haciéndolo.
And then,
y de Nishta pasamos a la etapa de Ruchi.
So Ruchi means now we have a real taste.
Y Ruchi significa que ahora tenemos un gusto
sometimes
verdadero.
we get a glimpse of that real taste when we're
yo creo que a veces vemos cierto deguste de ese gusto verdadero, justamente.
Our Guru Maharaj is there.
Al servir a devotos, a estar con Guru Maharaj.
So many components
Hay muchos componentes
give us a glimpse, that give us
que nos da cierta prueba, cierto gusto de la práctica devocional.
From Ruchi we get to Asakti.
Y de Ruchi vamos a
Asakti is where we might enter into this Antaranga Seva.
Es cuando entramos en Antaranga Seva.
In the stage of Asakti,
y creo que la etapa de Asakti
it means we have a particular kind of attachment.
Tenemos
so both Ruchi means like a deep taste.
Ruchi significa un gusto muy
and Guru
profundo.
Maharaj describes that,
y Guru Maharaj
deep
lo
taste
describe
is
como
like
este gusto profundo, como
what was our medicine,
como nuestra medicina
of chanting Hare Krishna. It was a medicine, now it's become our food.
Y que antes el canto de Hare Krishna era nuestra medicina y ahora se ha vuelto nuestra comida, nuestro alimento.
For the person afflicted by the disease of avidya or ignorance,
Rupa Goswami dice que la persona que está enferma con ignorancia, el canto del santo nombre le parece un poco amargo al principio,
by the sugar candy of Krishna's holy names.
Pero después la ignorancia se cura por el dulce del santo nombre.
So we go on tasting these holy names.
Entonces vamos y probamos estos santos nombres.
And now in the stage of Anishta,
y ahora en la etapa de Anishta,
that sometimes tastes bitter, sometimes it tastes a little sweet.
A veces,
but when we reach that
stage of Ruchi, se siente un poco más dulce, a veces un poco más amargo. Pero cuando llegamos a la etapa de Ruchi se vuelve muy dulce.
We're living on that.
Antes era nuestra medicina y ahora estamos viviendo del hecho de cantar, de escuchar,
de asociarnos con devotos. And we can hardly wait for it.
Y podemos ser muy poco pacientes.
And then once that ruchi is refined a little more, then we reach a stage of attachment. We become attached to a very particular form of Krishna.
Y después de ruchi nos apegamos a una forma muy particular de Krishna.
Maybe our sentiment becomes a little refined, and we understand. Maybe we have a strong inclination, or we have a desire to serve Krishna in a particular way.
Una inclinación, el deseo de servir a Krishna de una forma particular.
Of course, our two windows of opportunity have been emphasized lately. There's been some emphasis given to the idea of Manjari Baba as one of the windows of opportunity offered by Lord Chaitanya.
Es una de nuestras ventanas, nuestra oportunidad para entrar en la vida del Señor Chaitanya.
Mood of Radha Dasyam, becoming
llegar a ese humor de Radha Dasyam, de llegar a ser un sirviente de Srimati Radharani.
We have the mood of Sakyaras.
Tenemos el humor también de Sakyaras,
given by Lord Nityananda,
que nos es dado por el Señor Nityananda,
the incarnation or the embodiment of friendliness towards Krishna.
La manifestación de la amistad hacia Krishna.
To be a cowherd boy,
la manifestación
de
lo que verdaderamente es ser un Brajavasi.
In the stage of Asakti, all of those sentiments will become more clear
to us.
De Asakti, and in that stage of Asakti,
se van a volver más claros para nosotros.
In one of his particular forms and one of our particular forms.
Y sabremos cuál es nuestra forma en la que queremos servir a Krishna de una manera especial.
Our topmost potential is we become very fixed in that.
Nuestro potencial es que nos podemos volver muy fijos
en
eso.
And then we may even glimpse our own selves. We may get a glimpse of Krishna.
Y capaz podemos percibir
and we may get a glimpse of our own selves
cierto sabor de Krishna
realm
en
of our
nosotros
highest
mismos.
prospect.
En nosotros mismos, en el reino de nuestro,
we may get a glimpse of that in the stage of
mayor
Asakti.
Potencial cuando estamos en la etapa de Shakti.
And in that, so that Asakti, all of that is a roundabout way of getting around to this Antaranga Seva.
Todo se trata de llegar a esta etapa de Antaranga Seva.
Das was
Raghunath Das dice,
with Svarup Damodar.
Raghunath Das, perdón, es lo que está haciendo ahí con
Svarup
Damodar.
Y
cuando el Señor Chaitanya le dio esta instrucción
serving within his mind, serving Radha and Krishna.
De servir dentro de su mente
a Radha Krishna, that might get glimpsed at the stage of Asakti.
Que nos da como el pase a la etapa de Shakti. Y después de Shakti está Baba.
And of course Baba has two primary
Baba tiene
characteristics.
Dos características primarias.
It's very rarely attained.
Es algo muy raro obtener.
So Krishna says, out of many millions of men who strive to understand me, hardly one knows me in truth. So that,
de 1 millón de personas que intentan comprenderme plenamente, una sola persona me comprende de verdad. Y esa persona se me dice que obtiene el estadio de Baba. Ha llevado
and a person graduates from being a sadhaka to being a bhavika.
De ese devoto. Entonces,
in that bhava, then one may really get a lot of glimpse and taste of what it means to serve Krishna in that internal life.
Uno puede tener muchas realizaciones de lo que significa servir a Krishna en una vida interna.
The other quality of bhava is
la otra cualidad de bhava es moksha laguta prit.
So moksha, of course, is liberation. We become liberated from the earthly realm
del nacimiento y la muerte.
That happiness comes from
de la felicidad material.
The sense objects with the senses.
Conectándolo, dejamos de conectar los sentidos materiales.
We think that happiness comes from acquisition.
y dejamos de pensar que la felicidad vuelve que la felicidad viene de la adquisición material y nos liberamos de todo eso.
That's liberation also, the idea that I'd like to be free from suffering, free from anxiety.
Quiero estar libre de liberación, libre de ansiedad, eso también es liberación.
So,
entonces,
Moksha Laguta Krit means
significa
that's one of the qualities of Bhava that makes light of liberation, makes liberation seem like a small thing.
Significa que la liberación empieza a verse como algo sencillo, algo chico. Y después está prema.
The truth about the ultimate goal of life is the prayojan tattva.
Que es la verdad última. Y eso es prema.
All of these devotees that
y todos estos
devotos a role in this Govardhana Lila,
que han tenido un rol en este Govardhana Lila, todos estos devotos están en la etapa de prema.
Sadhana siddhas who've reached prema by the course of sadhana, or whether they're
que han llegado a prema por el curso de sadhana,
Lila devotees,
o quizás son Nitya Lila devotos de Nitya
Lila, who were always eternally made of these feelings of love for Krishna,
que han sido siempre eternamente creados con estos sentimientos de amor a Krishna,
with these sentiments of love for Krishna,
y que siempre han tenido estos síntomas de amor.
Anyway, I wanted to dive back into the Govardhana Lila a little bit.
Quiero volver un poquito en el Lila de Govardhana y hablar acerca del servicio devocional.
And, but you can't talk about the Govardhana Lila without talking about devotional service.
No podemos hablar del Govardhana Lila sin hablar del servicio devocional.
I wanted to share just a few things. Let's see here.
Entonces quiero compartir un par de cosas.
Krishna Chaitanya shared some stuff with me.
Krishna Chaitanya compartió ciertas cosas conmigo.
Some time ago about Govardhana.
Acerca de Govardhana.
And I wanted to share some of those details.
Y quiero compartir algunos de esos detalles.
So let's see.
Entonces veamos.
So I'll read a little bit.
Entonces voy a leer un poquito.
What he shared with me is the Kartik handbook from Sri Bhakti Vallabhatirtha Goswami.
El libro de Kartik de Sri Bhakti Vallabhatirtha Goswami.
I believe is one of the grand disciples of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta.
Que creo que es uno de los grandes discípulos de Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Prabhupada.
And
miembro de Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math.
It's a sort of a guide.
Y en este libro es una especie de guía
and then here there's
para practicar dentro del mes de
Giriraj Govardhana.
Y hay una sección de Giriraj Govardhana.
So I'll read just a little bit.
Y voy a leer un poquito.
So a lot of these stories, obviously
entonces muchas de estas historias obviamente hay descripciones en el Srimad Bhagavatam, en el canto 10.
In the Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Hay descripciones en el Chaitanya Charitamrita.
There's another book that I'm not familiar with, the Ananda Vrindavan Champu.
Hay otro libro sobre el cual no estoy familiarizado.
Which has a lot of descriptions, and also the Garga Samhita.
No escucho bien el nombre. Y también en el Brahma Samhita.
The appearance of Sri Govardhana in this world,
la aparición de Sri Govardhana en este mundo,
the name of Giriraj is described in the Garga Samhita of Sri Gargacharya in the conversation between Nanda Maharaj and his senior advisor, the Gopa Sananda. So I have a strong feeling that this person Sananda is one of Nanda Maharaj's brothers. Upananda, Sananda, there were 5 of them, the Nandas.
Creo que es uno de los hermanos mayores.
So Sananda spoke to Nanda Maharaj, giving reference to the conversation between Pandu and Bhishma.
Acerca de una conversación de Pandu y Bhishma.
So
entonces,
when Lord Chaitanya,
cuando el Señor Chaitanya,
when Lord Krishna,
cuando el Señor Krishna
had been requested to appear in the world,
fue solicitado aparecer en el mundo
Bhumi Devi,
por Bhumi Devi,
who appeared in the form of a cow and asked for
quien
Krishna
apareció en la
to
forma de una
appear
vaca y
in the world to
le
relieve
pidió
the
a Krishna
all
aparecer
kind of demoniac
para
leaders,
liberar al mundo de todos los
and
líderes
demoniac
demoníacos,
kings, and lift the
reyes
burden
demoníacos,
of dishonesty and irreligion.
y remediar la
Lord
irreligión.
Krishna was thinking to himself that he
El Señor
would
Krishna
come to
estaba
the earth,
pensando que él vendría a la tierra,
and so he was talking with Radharani.
y estaba hablando con Radharani,
requested that Radharani also appear on the earth.
Le pidió que también apareciera en la tierra.
Expressed her unwillingness to go to a place
Y
where
Radharani
Vrindavan, the Jamuna River, and Sri Govardhana were not present.
Expresó
Sri Krishna then sent his
su
own
desconcierto de ir a un lugar en el que no
spiritual
estuvieran
realm of
Vrindavan,
Rajadhan,
Yamuna y
which is an area of 84 krosha, which is a new term for me, or 252 kilometers, to descend to India in this world. I like the way this is expressed. Rajadhan is not a part of the material world.
Entonces,
consisting of earth,
Rajdam
water,
no es una
fire,
parte,
air,
no es una parte del mundo material, o sea que no está hecho de los 5 grandes elementos.
Prabhupada, he used the term ether, and so the Rajadhan is not like that.
No está hecho de tierra,
Govardhana
agua,
appeared,
fuego,
also,
aire y espacio.
So Radharani said that I don't want to go anywhere where the Jamuna doesn't flow.
Entonces Radharani dijo, no quiero a ningún lado, en que Yamuna no corra sus aguas y que no esté la colina de Govardhana. Entonces,
can't help but think that,
no puedo dejar de pensar
the Lord
que a veces
people to different parts of the world.
El Señor manda a personas a distintas partes del mundo
to assist the people who live in that area.
Para asistir a las personas que viven en esas áreas.
When Govardhana appeared in the world,
entonces
he didn't appear in Braja.
Apareció en el mundo, no apareció en Braj.
And then you think about some other devotees also.
Después pensamos en otros devotos
who didn't appear close by, who didn't appear in Vrindavan, or they didn't appear in Navadvip.
Aparecieron en Navadvip.
Advaita Acharya,
Advaita Acharya, por
Srivas
ejemplo,
Thakur, and Haridas. Haridas didn't appear in Navadvip. Lord Nityananda didn't appear in Navadvip.
No apareció en Navadvip.
They came from other places.
Chaitanya tampoco. Ellos
and
llegaron de
they
distintos
purified
lugares.
those places where they came from.
Y esos
Who else?
lugares,
Tapan Mishra. He was from there, but Lord
Tapan Mishra
Chaitanya
era de
sent
unos,
Tapan Mishra somewhere else because Lord
Era de esos
Chaitanya
lugares,
knew that
pero
he
el
would
Señor
be there
Chaitanya-
in the future.
el Señor Chaitanya lo mandó a
And
otro
so
lugar
Lord
porque
Chaitanya
sabía,
wanted some devotees to stay
porque
with.
sabía
And so
que él
he sent
estaría ahí en el
Tapan Mishra
futuro.
far away where he
Entonces
would
lo mandó a Tapan
like,
Mishra
basically live there
lejos
without the association of other devotees.
para que
Um,
viviera allí sin la asociación de otros devotos básicamente.
But Lord Chaitanya sent him there with a purpose.
Pero el
And
Señor
so
Chaitanya lo
Lord
envió ahí
Chaitanya, of course,
con
is
un
sending
motivo, con un
Govardhan
propósito.
to the material realm,
Entonces el
or
Señor Chaitanya
sending him to the spiritual realm within the material realm.
de la misma
So
forma que
Govardhan
mandó,
appeared as the son of
que
Mount
mandó a
Drona
Govardhan.
in in Salmali Island in western India.
Entonces
So I never heard that, the Salmali
la
Island.
colina de Govardhan
And all
apareció
the
como
demigods
hijo
were
de otra
excitedly
montaña
delighted at the
en una
appearance
isla
of Govardhan and showered down
en el sur
flowers.
de India.
All the big mountains, such as the Himalayas and Sumeru, were happy to hear about Govardhan's appearance.
Todas las
And they
montañas
came
como
to
los
pay their
Himalayas y
homage to
Sumeru
Govardhan
estaban
and to worship
muy
him.
felices de haber
And in their
escuchado
prayers
la
they said,
aparición de
since
Govardhan como
Govardhan is the
colina.
holy place of pastimes of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna,
Govardhan es el
in the
lugar sagrado
transcendental
de los
sweet realm
pasatiempos
of
del
Goloka,
Señor Sri
he is the
Krishna.
king of all mountains
Él
and
es
the
el rey
crown
de
of
todas las
Goloka.
montañas.
He is like an umbrella for Parabrahman Krishna, and Vrindavan is within his lap. And since then,
Vrindavan está
Govardhan
en
has been
su-
renowned as Giriraj. So he
sus
received
bordes y por eso
the
es que
name
ha
Giriraj
obtenido el
from
nombre Giriraj.
the Himalayas and Mount Meru. And so, of course, there's a famous story of how Govardhan had appeared there.
Una historia
And
famosa
I
de
think
cómo
the most
Govardhan
common story is the
llegó
story
allí,
of Pulastya Muni,
y creo que la historia más común es la de
who is one of the
Pulastya
7 mind-born sons of
que es
Brahma,
uno de
known
los,
as the Manasaputra, the
de
sons of
los,
Lord Brahma's
de los
mind.
7 hijos de la
And
mente
so
del Señor Brahma.
Pulastya Muni was traveling on
Y
pilgrimage and
Pulastya
came
Muni
to Salmali Island.
estaba
And
caminando y
there
llegó
he
a
was
la isla
astonished and charmed to see
y estuvo muy
the
asombrado
extraordinary beauty of Govardhan.
y encantado
He
de
was
ver,
adorned with a variety of fruit and flower trees,
de ver
pleasant
la
sitting
belleza de
places,
Govardhan,
springs,
que estaba lleno de
soft
flores, de
grass,
fruta,
etc.
de pasto, etc.
And when Pulastya Muni approached
Y cuando Pulastya
Drona,
Muni
he was,
llegó a Drona, que es el padre de Govardhan,
and so Pulastya Muni said to Drona,
le
I live in
dijo,
Kashi,
yo vivo en Kashi,
which has special significance due to the presence of the Ganges and
que tiene un
Visveshwar
significado especial
Mahadev. Kashi is, I think, a city that's
por
more
la
associated with
presencia
Lord Shiva Mahadev.
de Ganges y el Señor
Sinners go
Mahadev,
there to
el
get
Señor Shiva.
salvation, but my desire is to perform penance there after installing Govardhana.
Es realizar penitencia ahí después de instalar a Govardhana.
So in that way, Pulasya Muni asked Drona
Pulasya Muni de alguna forma le preguntó
for his son,
a Drona por su hijo, le pidió a su hijo.
And Drona knew that sometimes these sages are a little rough around the edges. They may become angry.
Se vuelven un
due to
poco
their
enojados
austerities. They
en
may
base
become just a
las
little
autoridades
hard-nosed, rough around the edges.
se pueden haber vuelto
And
un
so
poco
Drona
duros en
didn't
base
want to be cursed by Pulasya Muni.
a las autoridades, entonces
So
Drona no
he
quería que se
encouraged
llevara.
Govardhana to
Entonces,
go with Pulasya Muni.
no, perdón, entonces él le aconsejó a Govardhana que fuera con
And so, of course, Pulasya Muni, Govardhana said that I'll go with you on one condition.
Voy a ir contigo con una condición.
That if you put me down somewhere for any
De que si
reason,
me dejas por alguna razón en el
then
suelo,
that's
en
where
algún
I'll
lugar,
stay.
ahí es donde me quedaré fijo.
And so he jumped up onto the hand of Pulasya Muni, who
Entonces
carried him
saltó en la
from
mano
this
de
Salmali
Pulasya Muni
island
y lo llevó desde la isla.
back to, I guess he was heading for Kashi.
Y creo que estaba dirigiendo a Kashi.
And then, but when he was traveling in the land of
cuando estaba
Braja,
caminando por las tierras de Braja,
in some stories it said he felt compelled to stop and answer the call of nature, but
se dice
in this particular pastime, it said that Govardhana made himself very heavy.
En este pasatiempo dice que Govardhana se
Like
hizo muy
Krishna
pesado
became very heavy
así como
when he
Krishna
was holding on to the neck
se hace
of
muy
Trinavarta,
pesado
the whirlwind demon.
cuando
He
estaba
became very heavy.
en el cuello del
I
demonio del
think it's one
viento.
of the perfectional mystic cities. You can become lighter than the lightest and travel on the rays of the sunshine, or you can become heavier than the heaviest.
Es uno
So
de
that's
los,
what
una de las cualidades
Govardhana did. He became very
celestiales
heavy,
de
and
volverse
Pulasya Muni,
más pesado,
he sat him
más
down there
ligero.
in the
Entonces
Braj.
se puso muy pesado y se sentó allí en Braj.
And of course, Pulasya Muni didn't like that. He said,
Pulasya Muni no le gustó eso.
"Come on, get back on my hand."
Dijo, vamos, sube de vuelta a mi
And
mano.
Govardhana said, "No, I'm not going any further. We had a deal. That was those were the terms of my agreement.
El trato
I
de
said, if you put me
si
down, I was going to stay."
yo me
And
quedaba
Pulasya
aquí.
Muni, sure enough, he became a little angry and he
Y
cursed
Pulasya Muni
Govardhana. He said,
se enojó,
"You're so
entonces
big, you're so tall."
maldijo a
In
Govardhana.
one of the descriptions, he was so tall that the horses that belong to Surya, the sun god, the horses that pull the chariot of the sun across the sky, would graze on the grasses on the top of Govardhana. He said, "You're so tall, but I curse you that every day you'll shrink by the size of a sesame seed."
Te maldigo para que cada día te vayas encogiendo el tamaño de una semilla de sésamo.
That's how Govardhana
En esta
came
particular historia
to be
de esta manera. Entonces, de esta manera, Govardhana llegó a estar en Braja.
So I'll give you another story as well that may not be quite as prominent.
Que quizás no sea tan prominente.
There are a few different stories. They're nice.
Hay un par de historias diferentes.
A second popular version of how Giriraj came to Braja seems to have first appeared in Narayana Bhatta Goswami's book, Braj Bhakti Vilas. And therein it says, in the Treta Yuga, when the monkeys were helping Lord Ramachandra construct a bridge to Lanka,
cuando los monos estaban ayudando al señor Ramachandra a construir el puente a Sri Lanka,
Hanuman went to the Himalayas
Hanuman fue a los
and
Himalayas
picked up the Giriraj and was intending to bring him to
tomó
help build the bridge.
y lo traía para
all of you probably heard the story. Lord
para
Ramachandra,
a crear el puente. Creo que todos han escuchado la historia
his
de
wife
cómo Ramachandra
had been stolen,
y su esposa Sita había sido robada, secuestrada por
and so he was going to build
por Ravana,
y
entonces estaba buscando crear un puente desde India a Sri Lanka, como se conoce hoy en día,
southeast coast of India,
la India que está al sudeste de India.
And so
entonces
Hanuman, army of monkeys and bears, they're throwing stones into the water, and they're writing the name of Lord Ram on every stone, and the stones were floating.
Escribiendo los nombres del señor Ram
and Hanuman told the spider who was carrying a little pebble, he said, "Get out of the way, I'm carrying a big boulder, you should get out of the way and let me through."
Le dijo un mono que llevaba una piedra
pequeña. Everybody is doing their service according to their size and ability.
Una piedra muy grande, déjame pasar. Y el señor
spider carrying this
Ramachandra
little pebble, he's not,
todos están haciendo
you're
la tarea,
not different or better because you're carrying a big
está
boulder.
llevando una piedra
So
en base
Lord Ramachandra is
a la relación
appreciating
de su peso.
Everyone's service.
Entonces el señor Ramachandra estaba apreciando el servicio de todos.
While they're
Entonces,
building this bridge,
mientras estaban haciendo este puente,
Hanuman went to the
Hanuman
Himalayas or to
fue a
the
los
Salmali
Himalayas,
Islands, and he picked up
a esta
Govardhana
isla,
Hill.
y
And
tomó
then as he's
a la colina de
making a
Govardhana,
giant leap like Hanuman does,
y
he heard
creciendo
a
de su
tremendous
tamaño,
voice from the sky, a voice from
Hanuman lo
heaven,
hace,
and
escuchó una voz del
it said,
cielo que decía,
the bridge to Lanka is complete.
el puente de Sri Lanka
And
está
so
completo.
Hanuman
Entonces
set
Hanuman
the Govardhana Hill down
dejó la
there
colina de Govardhana ahí,
in the Braja.
en
And
Braja,
Govardhana was disappointed. He thought, oh, this is going to be
Govardhana
wonderful.
estaba
I was going to be
decepcionado.
floating in the ocean, and
Dijo,
Lord
pensé que iba a estar
Ramachandra
flotando en el océano para el señor
Lakshman and
Chamatandra.
the whole army
El
was
señor
going to, they were going to
Ramachandra y
walk
Lakshman,
on me. They're going to step
todo
on
el
me,
ejército iban a pasar por
and I
mí.
was going to feel their
Y
lotus feet
iba a sentir sus pies
as
de
they
loto
crossed to rescue Sita.
mientras iban a rescatar a Sita.
And so he got a blessing from Hanuman that in
Y
another
obtuvo las
age,
bendiciones,
if you'll stay here in the Braja,
Hanuman,
then
que en otra era,
Lord Ramachandra
si
will
te
appear as
si te
Krishna,
quedas aquí en Braja,
and then
el señor
you'll get to feel
Ramachandra
his lotus feet at that time.
va a aparecer como Krishna y vas a sentir sus pies de lotos en aquel momento.
There's another interesting story.
Y hay otra historia interesante.
One that's even less well known, maybe.
Que quizás
According
menos
to the
conocida,
Padma Purana,
de acuerdo con el Padma Purana,
a Brahmin had received Sarupya Mukti.
Un Brahman había recibido Swarupya Mukti.
Sarupya is one of the five.
Swarupya es una de las
the five types of liberation.
De las 5 formas de
Salokya,
liberación.
Sarupya,
Salokya,
Samipya,
Samipya,
Sharsti, and the one that devotees find particularly disinteresting, Sayuja.
Sayuja.
And Sayuja means to merge with the Lord, and
una que
we're not interested in Sayuja. The other different types of liberation, they may be concomitant with devotional service.
Hay algunas formas de liberación que pueden ser compatibles con el servicio devocional, entonces capaz
performing our
aceptamos
devotional service. We might have
en la forma
a
de
form
realizar
similar to the Lord, or we may live on
servicio
the same planet as the Lord, or we may have the same
devocional, vivir en el
opulences
mismo planeta que el
as the
Señor,
Lord.
tener
But
una
we're
forma
not
similar al
interested
Señor.
in those things independent of being Krishna's servant.
No estamos
And we're
interesados en
not
esas cosas más
interested
que
in
ser un
Sayuja, in the
sirviente de Krishna, y no
idea of
estamos
merging,
interesados en Sayuja, la idea
merging with the impersonal
de hacernos parte con la forma impersonal.
That doesn't appeal to us. We don't want to be by ourselves forever.
No es algo que queremos, no queremos estar por nuestra cuenta
I
por la
like to think of it
eternidad.
as
A veces me gusta pensarlo como
a pure heart and nothing to do.
Como un corazón
Guru
puro
Maharaj has a lecture,
y nada que hacer.
A clean heart and something to do.
Así como Guru Maharaj ha dicho a veces, un corazón puro y algo que hacer.
I sometimes like to think of it as nothing to do and no one to do it with forever.
Y algunas veces pienso como nada para hacer y nadie con quien hacer algo por la eternidad. Entonces esta es la forma de liberación, se parece a esto. Entonces
este
Brahmana, volviendo a la historia.
So I'll just read it. I'm not going to be able to state it clearly. According to Padma Purana, a Brahmin received Sarupya Mukti as the spiritual form of Krishna's manifestation as Govardhana Hill. And I guess when
se manifestó como la colina de Govardhana, creo que dijo.
So somehow there was a Brahmin.
De alguna manera había un Brahmana.
Maybe he met Krishna somehow.
Que quizás,
and this Brahmin had been performing austerities.
Y este Brahman había estado
so maybe he was
realizando austeridades.
And so the Lord arranged for this Brahmin to appear as Govardhana.
Apareciera como Govardhana.
And because he was both hungry and thirsty,
y así como estaba
the Lord arranged for him to be fed by this Anukut festival. where there were so many mounds of rice,
sediento,
lakes
el
of
Señor
sweet rice,
organizó
and
que en el
lakes of
festival
nectar,
de instalación de copal se le
and
alimentara.
basically hills of sweets.
Y había
The
montañas de
Govardhana
alimentos,
hill
montañas de
was
dulces,
eating and eating,
arroz.
and
Y la colina de
so
Govardhana estaba
all
comiendo
of
y
that is
comiendo.
in response to having met the Lord earlier
Y
when he
todo
was
esto
performing
corresponde,
austerities and
todo esto
being thin
corresponde
and hungry and thirsty, and
a que
he,
había conocido
so of
al
course
Señor antes,
he
estando flaco, delgado, por
was
las
fed by this
austeridades.
Anakut festival, and he was also
Y entonces
in
fue
his
alimentado por
mountain form.
el
He was
festival
going to drink
Anakut.
fresh water from the rain clouds. So these Samvartaka clouds were
estaría bebiendo agua
nourishing
de la lluvia, de
and
las nubes,
life-giving to Govardhana.
dándole vida a la colina de Govardhana.
So,
entonces,
let's see.
Veamos.
Let's see if I got anything else.
Veamos si tengo algo más.
A little less organized this week.
Estoy un poco menos organizado esta semana.
All right, so I've talked for a while now.
Ya hablé por un tiempo.
So,
entonces,
if anyone has any questions
si
or
alguien tiene
comments,
alguna pregunta o comentario,
now is probably a good time for
ahora
you guys to jump in.
Un momento adecuado para compartirlas. Así que si alguien del canal español que esté escuchando y quiera realizar algún comentario o pregunta, puede escribírmelo por el chat y yo se lo voy a estar traduciendo acá en
Hone my
holandés.
focus a little bit on the Govardhana Lila.
Está agradeciendo por el tiempo, por la escucha, que le favoreció mucho para
deeper study and
mucho para repasar el Lila.
A little presentation on Govardhana.
Aquí hay una pregunta de Melosidades.
Message in the chat from Vrajahari Pranam. Disappeared.
Yeah, I will translate it.
Let's see here.
Yeah.
Thank you for the Harikatha. Sri Chaitanya instructed.
Anuram?
Yes.
Sorry. Martin is translating it, but you can't hear it probably because you're not in English.
Okay.
Yeah, let me turn my English. Okay, and mute. Okay.
Yeah, you hear me, Kanuram?
Yes, thank you, Martin.
Yeah, sorry. It says, Pranam, thank you for the Harikatha. Sri Chaitanya instructed Srila Raghunath Das to not hear gossip, but if I understand properly, to Sri Nityananda, he instructed to preach, and in this way he has to be engaged in conversations about Jagai and Madai. How can we approach this diversity in both of the instructions to have a better practice in a way? Let me read the question in Spanish so it gets recorded.
Okay, thank you very much.
Entonces la pregunta de
yes, and maybe Kanuram, you can repeat the question also, so
dice,
the devotee from that listen the recording.
Dice, Sri Chaitanya instruyó a Srila Raghunath Das de no escuchar conversaciones mundanas, pero si lo entiendo bien, a Sri Nitai le instruyó predicar y así tuvo que lidiar con las conversaciones de Jagai y Madai. ¿Cómo podemos abordar esta diversidad en las instrucciones de forma favorable a la práctica? Yes, I'm done, Kanuram.
Okay. Thank you, Martin.
Entonces,
I'm not Vrajahari Prabhu, I'm not exactly sure how to answer your question. I'm not necessarily familiar
de cómo responder
with
tu
Lord
pregunta.
Nityananda's instructions
no
to
estoy muy
Raghunath Das
con las instrucciones del Señor Nityananda
about preaching in regard to conversations about Jagai and Madai.
Acerca de la prédica en relación con Jagai y Madai.
The first thing that comes to mind, though,
Lo primero
is
que me viene a mi mente es
like Sanatana Goswami.
Acerca de Sanatana Goswami.
And Sanatana Goswami, it's in that beautiful Astakam. It said that Sanatan, Rupa and Sanatan were
se dice que Rupa y Sanatan
were good friends to everybody that lived in the area.
Eran muy buenos amigos de
And
todos los
that
que vivían en
Sanatana
el área.
Goswami was like a leader. They were
Sanatana
charming to
Goswami
both the gentle and the ruffians.
Era
And
muy
they
gentil
would
con las
help
personas
all
buenas y
kinds of people, not just the devotees, but
los rufianes
other
le
people that
ayudaban,
lived in the area. They would come to
ayudaban
Sanatana Goswami if they
a
had
todo
a
tipo de personas,
disagreement,
no solo a los
and they would
devotos.
present their different sides. As a,
Y si tenían desacuerdos,
people would say,
presentaban ambas
that they were
posturas.
disagreeing, and Sanatana Goswami
Sanatana
would
Goswami
help them iron out their situation.
ayudaría
would,
a remediar las situaciones.
He would talk to them about some practical matters as well as
Hablaba
devotional matters.
acerca de asuntos prácticos, tanto como de asuntos
And I was
devocionales.
always inspired by
Y
that.
siempre me inspiró eso.
So in that sense,
Entonces, en
I
ese
think that
sentido, creo que
I think that devotees are somewhat like that.
Creo que los devotos son
That they hear about practical things as
acerca de esa
well.
forma, como son un ejemplo de ello, que escuchan de cosas prácticas.
I just don't think it's practical to think I'm only going to talk about devotional
Y creo que
things, and I'm
no
not
es
going to,
práctico
like even when
solamente
I
pensar,
associate with devotees,
solo
for
voy a
instance,
hablar de
we
cosas
aspire to associate with
devocionales.
devotees. When we spend time with devotees, we
Y
want
cuando nos relacionamos
that
con
time to be
devotos,
spent well, and we want to talk.
queremos que el
spend
tiempo
our sadhu sangha time talking about things which
desarrolle
are sat. We want to
hablando
talk
acerca
about
de
things
cosas
of an eternal nature.
que son sat, que
But
tienen una naturaleza eterna, sadhu sangha.
We talk about things that are practical in our daily life.
Entonces hablamos también de cosas que son prácticas en nuestro
We
día a
find
día.
out about how things are going in somebody's family life. We see our friends. How's it going?
Hablamos acerca de cómo las cosas van en la vida familiar,
is your wife doing okay?
la vida de nuestros amigos,
how's
los
your
chicos en la
husband?
escuela, cómo está tu esposa, tu esposo,
how are things at work? You're doing
cómo están las
okay.
cosas en el trabajo,
Rupa
te está yendo bien.
Goswami, he advises us about
Rupa Goswami
six confidential
nos aconseja acerca
exchanges of love between devotees.
de seis
the 6 exchanges of love
intercambios
with
confidenciales
devotees,
de amor
and
entre
he
los
encourages
devotos.
us to reveal our minds in confidence and to inquire confidentially.
Consiste en revelar nuestras mentes de forma
we
confidencial.
see that Lord Chaitanya does the same thing.
Y vemos que el Señor Chaitanya hace lo
talks with
mismo.
people about their life, about
Habla
some
con personas acerca de su
practical
vida,
things.
de asuntos prácticos.
He finds out about what's going on in people's lives, and he also
habla acerca de lo que sucede en la vida de las personas y
a lot of time
también habla mucho tiempo
talking
acerca
about transcendental topics, about the nature
de temas
of bhakti and the
trascendentales,
nature of devotional
la
service.
naturaleza de bhakti, la naturaleza del servicio devocional.
Does that help? I'm not sure I'm
eso
getting
ayuda,
to the essence of your question.
Eso yo no sé si he llegado a la esencia de tu pregunta, Brian Hari.
Okay.
Ahí dice que sí.
Thank you, Brad Hari. I hope that helps.
Muchas gracias, Brian Hari. Espero que eso haya funcionado, haya servido.
I can't go back up. I think that Govinda Mohini had something also.
Creo que Govinda Mohini
tenía una pregunta.
Dice, reverencias, entendí que el señor Chaitanya no caminó sobre Govardhana. ¿Por qué? Yes, the question of Govinda Mohini says, obviously, I understand that Lord Chaitanya didn't walk over Govardhana. What's the reason of that?
Okay, so
entonces
so Lord Chaitanya seems like that Lord Chaitanya had great reverence for Govardhana Hill.
Parece que tiene mucho aprecio, mucha reverencia.
I think that Lord Chaitanya, sometimes there are different personalities. Govardhana is a really prominent one who is both an individual as Govardhana, and he's also Krishna.
Es un individuo como Govardhana y también es Krishna.
In the Krishna Lila,
entonces en el Krishna Lila,
when Krishna was there with Nanda Maharaj, Mati Yashoda, and all the cowherd boys, and he lifted Govardhana Hill,
y todos los vaqueros y vaqueras,
before he lifted Govardhana Hill,
y levantó la colina de Govardhana, o incluso antes
Nanda Maharaj
él
to worship
convenció
Govardhana Hill by his
Nanda Maharaj para adorar a Govardhana.
He convinced him to worship Govardhana Hill rather than to worship Indra.
En vez de adorar a Govardhana,
worshiping Govardhana Hill. And at the same time, he appeared as Govardhana Hill.
Y entonces lo estaban adorando, él estaba adorando
eating all the offerings.
A la colina
he's
de
eating these big hills of rice and drinking the lakes of nectar.
Como la colina de Govardhana.
And appearing Krishna appears
bebiendo y comiendo las ofrendas
as the hill.
Y Krishna aparece como la colina.
I can't think of a there's one example I can think of that I heard from Indrajumna Maharaj years ago.
Acerca de un ejemplo que escuché
There's a few
de
examples where
Indrajumna Maharaj
Krishna
unos años
goes and
atrás.
he appears within the form of another person.
Hay ciertos
And
pasatiempos
so,
en los que, y lugares en los que
there's
Krishna
one
aparece en la
example
forma de
where
otra persona.
this person had gone in, he didn't like a word in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and so he,
Por ejemplo, cuando esta persona
that
en
word
este pasaje
then
del
later,
Srimad Bhagavatam, que una persona no le gustó una frase de Srimad Bhagavatam y la tachó.
Made a correction in that person's Bhagavatam.
Krishna
And then
fue
that person,
y hizo una
he came
corrección
home
en el Bhagavatam.
and he was about to sit down and
Y
have
entonces
lunch.
la
He
persona
asked his
llegó a la
wife,
casa
so where's
y
lunch?
le pidió a su
And she's like, you were already here, you already ate lunch, you worked on your book a little bit, and then you went again.
La esposa le
But
dijo,
actually that was Krishna appearing as that
comiste,
person and
trabajaste un
making that
poco
correction.
en tu escritura
And
y te
there's a
fuiste.
story where
Pero ese verdaderamente era Krishna
there
que
was a
estaba ahí en la
king and he
forma de
was
la
going to ride
persona.
into battle of the
Después hay otra
Rajasthani
historia
king. So this is the
de un
Indrajumna
rey
Maharaj story, and he went out and
que
he
iba
was
a
on
pelear
his
una
horse,
batalla.
and he went out and
Estaba en su
he had
caballo,
two swords,
tenía dos
and he was
espadas
going out and he was
e iba
devastating the other army. He was
devastando
splitting
al
the
otro-
soldiers in half
al otro
with one
equipo
sword and splitting
con
the
una
horses in
espada-
half with another sword.
con una
And
espada.
then he had no recollection of it.
Mataba ambas
And
partes
so
del
it
equipo.
was as if Krishna had appeared as that person.
Y después
So
de eso
these
no
are
tenía
just,
recuerdos de
these
eso,
are
era
just
como
a
que Krishna
couple
había
of
aparecido como
aside
esa
stories
persona.
to illustrate how Krishna
Son
may
historias aparte que nos permiten ilustrar
completely
cómo
empower
Krishna
a person or may enter the
aparece
form of another person.
como la forma de
So
otra
it's sort
persona.
of like that with Govardhana.
Entonces
So
es de
Lord
esa manera
Chaitanya
como
didn't want to
con
put his
Govardhana.
feet on Krishna. We don't
Entonces
want
el
to
Señor
walk on
Chaitanya
Krishna. We don't even want to walk
no
on
quería
Krishna's
poner sus
footsteps
pies
in Vrindavan.
sobre Krishna.
So
De la
he
misma
didn't
manera
want
que
to step
nosotros no
on Krishna,
queremos
but
y
Madhav
tampoco
Puri, of
queremos
course, was
pisar
different
sobre las
because
huellas
the
de Krishna en
Gopal deity
Vrindavan.
had encouraged him to walk up to the top of Govardhan and install the Gopal deity on the top of Govardhan hill.
Dijo algo
From what I
acerca
understand, we
Madhavendra
follow
Puri
in the mood of Lord Chaitanya, and we don't walk on the hill.
de cómo a diferencia del Señor Chaitanya, él subió a instalar la deidad de Gopal arriba.
I feel a little
Pero
tangential in my
nosotros
answer.
no caminamos sobre la colina de Govardhan, así como lo hizo el Señor Chaitanya.
Thank you for your question. I appreciate that.
Kanuram, you have a question from Matthew Saba in English?
Yeah, I can read that one. So,
yeah.
Matthew says, thank you for your wonderful series. Can you please elaborate on what you mean when you refer to Manjari Bhava and Sakya Bhava as two particular windows of opportunity?
Con Manjari Bhava y Sakya Bhava como dos ventanas particulares para la oportunidad.
This is something that
Entonces esto es algo que
Guru Maharaj has been giving some emphasis to lately.
Le ha estado dando cierto
And of course,
énfasis
it
últimamente.
goes back in our Bhakti tradition for a long time.
Y vuelve hace mucho tiempo en nuestra tradición de Bhakti.
There are different devotees have different aspirations.
Hay ciertos devotos que tienen distintas aspiraciones en lo que
they would like to be
creen que les gustaría ser
in
el reino.
Like we were talking about our Prayojan Tattva. The Prayojan is the ultimate goal.
La meta
so
última.
Our ultimate goal is that we want
Entonces,
to
nuestra meta última
serve and live. We want to serve Krishna in Vrindavan, in the village of Vrindavan.
En Vrindavan, en la aldea de Vrindavan.
And we want to live and serve in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes in the Nitya Navadvip. We want to live and serve in those two leelas. That's our ultimate aspiration as devotees, is to purify our hearts of all the worldly conditioning.
De toda la
and we want to fill our hearts with
y queremos llenar nuestros corazones
devotional sentiments and
con
sentiments
síntomas
of surrender,
devocionales
and offering our whole selves to our Guru, offering ourselves to the service of the Vaishnavas, and offering ourselves in the service of Krishna and His holy Dham, and the holy people that reside in that Dham.
Y todas las personas que residen en ese Dham.
There are certain moods that
Pero hay ciertos aspectos,
able to have.
ciertos humores,
there are primary relationships
que
go
destacan
in those places.
Relaciones primordiales que se llevan a cabo en esos lugares.
Those relationships are primarily four.
Y esas relaciones son principalmente cuatro.
Dasya-ras, which is the feeling of being Krishna's servant.
Que es el sentimiento de ser el sirviente de Krishna.
The feeling of being
Está Sakya-ras, el sentimiento de ser el amigo de Krishna.
Parental love,
Después está el amor
where
parental,
one would be older than Krishna and feel superior to Krishna, like Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda.
mayor que Krishna y sentirá ciertos humores como los de Nanda Maharaj y Madre Yashoda. Y después está Madhurya Bhav, el Bhav de la dulzura, el sentir un amor romántico por Krishna.
There are two primary windows of opportunity.
Y hay dos oportunidades principales,
a window of
ventanas para estas
opportunity
oportunidades,
is a chance to become,
que son la chance
to have those feelings
de experimentar
that the
estos
devotees there
sentimientos
feel. So
con devotos que se
ultimately we
encuentran
want to
allí.
become, we are Raganuga devotees. So Anuga means to follow the path of Rag, and that Rag means like an inborn feeling.
Rag
So
significa
we follow in the footsteps
sentimiento
of
natural
devotees
interno.
who have these profound feelings. We become
Seguimos
followers of their
los pasos
feelings,
de devotos
and we
que
become
han tenido
their
estos sentimientos
literal
profundos
followers.
y
We
seguimos
take their
sus
advice and we
pasos,
hear from them,
seguimos sus
and we
consejos, escuchamos
aspire
de
to
ellos y
become
nos
like them.
inspiramos en volvernos como ellos.
So
Entonces,
by association,
a través de la asociación,
we catch these feelings. It's a modern term. You catch
sentimos
feelings
estos sentimientos.
for somebody. So we catch these feelings
Así como sentimos sentimientos para otra
of
persona,
love from different
sentimos
sadhus who
sentimientos,
impact our lives.
obtenemos
And
los
the
sentimientos
two
de amor de
primary
distintos sadhus que impactan
feelings
nuestra vida,
that are available to us
y los
as
sentimientos que
followers
están
of Lord Chaitanya
disponibles para nosotros
are
como seguidores del
the
Señor Chaitanya
Sakya Bhav,
son Sakya
which is
Bhav,
the feeling of friendliness.
que es el sentimiento de
Sakya is
amistad.
there are different types of friendly relationships
Hay
with
distintos
Krishna.
tipos de relación de amistad
There are
con Krishna.
4 primary feelings of Sakya Bhav.
Hay cuatro formas principales de Sakya Bhav.
Sakya is
Sakya,
mixed with Dasya.
que
So
están
like the younger
mixados
boys in Vrindavan,
Dasya.
they serve Krishna.
Entonces
And
los
their
vaqueros de
feeling of
Vrindavan
service is
sirven a Krishna
imbued with friendliness.
y su
And then
servicio está mezclado con
the
amistad.
Priya Sakas,
Después
which
están los Priya
they
Sakas,
purely have confidence with Krishna.
que tienen mucha confianza
They
con
feel
Krishna.
like Krishna is mine and I am Krishna's, and we're on the same level.
Piensan que
And
Krishna es mío, yo soy de Krishna, estamos al mismo
when
nivel.
the cowherd boys play
Y a
games
veces
with
cuando los
Krishna,
vaqueros juegan juegos con Krishna,
sometimes they might wrestle Krishna to the ground.
a veces
And then
luchan
sometimes on
con
the other
Krishna
side, they
y
might get
lo
wrestled to the ground by
al
Krishna.
suelo, y a
And
veces
so
son tirados al
sometimes
suelo
Krishna
por
wins in
Krishna,
the game,
a veces Krishna
and you
gana,
have to carry Krishna on your
y
shoulders.
tienes que
And then
llevar a
other
Krishna en tus
times,
hombros,
your team may win, and
y a veces
Krishna may have to carry you on his
tu
shoulders.
equipo gana y Krishna te tiene que llevar a ti en tus hombros.
So that there's a feeling of confidence.
Entonces
And
hay un sentimiento de
mamata
confianza.
is a feeling of minus. Krishna is like me.
Hay un
And then there
sentimiento
are
de pensar,
older
de sentir
boys.
Krishna es como yo.
This is the 4th of those types of
Y
feelings of
después el
Sakya,
cuarto de los sentimientos de Sakya,
where the older boys,
donde
the bigger boys, maybe they feel
los
like
vaqueros
they're
mayores, más
protecting
adultos,
Krishna.
sienten
Like Lord
el deber
Balaram
de
is an
protección
example
a Krishna, como el
whose,
señor,
his feelings of
el señor
friendliness
Balaram,
of Krishna, or feelings of friendliness with Krishna, are
entonces
bundled
su
with
amistad con
sentiments of
Krishna
dasya. So sometimes he's serving Krishna, and it's
están-
bundled together with a feeling of parental affection,
está
or
mezclado
like that
con
they're superior to
servicio, con
Krishna.
dasya y con amor parental
and
a
that-
Krishna, de protección.
For those boys, that
Y para
feeling of
ellos,
friendliness is
el sentimiento de amistad es
they appear separately, because the
aparece
feelings of dasya, it works well with Sakya,
porque el
friendly
sentimiento de
ras.
dasya
But the
se
feelings
lleva
of
bien
parental
con el
affection, they don't
sentimiento
necessarily
de
go as
dasya y
well
sakya,
with the feelings of friendliness. So they appear at different times.
entonces aparecen de
So
formas
maybe
diferentes.
Lord Balaram says he gets those feelings. He's empowered by
Entonces,
Mother Yashoda with some of
El
her
señor Balaram a veces
parental
cuando tiene estos
affection. He says,
sentimientos
you know,
está empoderado por
I
la
know that
por
you
Madre
want to go
Yasoda
to the Kaliya Lake today, but we're not going to Kaliya Lake.
y le dice,
Not today.
sé que quieres ir
We're
al
not going to
lago,
Kaliya.
pero no vamos a ir hoy.
So
Entonces,
maybe I'm giving a long explanation,
quizás
but
estoy dando una explicación muy larga, pero
that Sakya Bhav
ese Sakya Bhav
appears in the modern world through
aparece
the channel of Lord Nityananda.
en
So
el
that's
mundo
one of our
material a
windows of
través del canal
opportunity.
del señor Nityananda.
So I asked Guru Maharaj
Y
about
le he
this
preguntado
Manjari Bhav
a Guru Maharaj acerca de
last
este
week
Manjari Bhav
on last Sunday's call.
en la última clase de
Maybe
los
it was 2
domingos de la
Sundays
semana
ago.
pasada, o quizás
But
hace dos.
anyway, that Manjari Bhav
Pero bueno, de todas maneras, Manjari Bhav
is the feeling that the younger girls in Vrindavan have,
las
and
niñas más
they
pequeñas que
are
brindaban,
manjaris.
y ellas son manjaris.
Like, and the example of those personalities is like
Y en el
Rupa
ejemplo de
and
esas
Sanatan.
personalidades se
They
encuentran Rupa y
appear in the
Sanatan.
world as
Ellos aparecen en el
as
mundo
sadhakas,
como
right?
sadhakas.
So Rupa and Sanatan Goswami are sadhakas, and
Rupa y
we
Sanatan
follow in their
son sadhakas
footsteps.
y seguimos sus pasos.
And they show how to approach Lord Krishna's pastimes, and they show how to approach Lord Chaitanya
y al Señor Chaitanya
by their example.
A través de su
Not
ejemplo.
everybody is like an example of how to be. Like Pundarik Vidyanidhi is like a person who has profound devotion for the Lord, but we can't necessarily follow in his footsteps. He's very wealthy, and he doesn't necessarily follow the track of sadhana.
Está dando el ejemplo de un
But he's
devoto
nonetheless a perfected person. He's a we hope
que no
to
podemos seguir,
we would love for some of his feelings to rub off on us.
Pero puede ser una inspiración.
This Manjari Baba is something that
Y este Manjari Baba es algo
is a feeling that's naturally there eternally.
Es un sentimiento que está ahí naturalmente de forma eterna.
They are manjaris, and those manjaris are the servants of Srimati Radharani.
Y esos manjaris son
they don't have any desire to have a romantic connection with Lord Krishna.
No tienen deseo de tener una conexión romántica con Krishna.
They're prominently connected with Srimati Radharani.
Están principalmente conectadas con Srimati Radharani.
And so that window of opportunity, we talked about that in this series when Lord Chaitanya
y hablamos acerca de ello en la serie cuando el Señor Chaitanya estaba
Chataka Parvata, which is a sand dune in Jagannath
estaba corriendo hacia una colina de arena en Jagannath Puri.
Was in his own antaranga seva, in his own internal meditative life. He left his external consciousness and went into his deep internal life, and in that way, in that deep internal realm, he was seeing the pastimes of Radha and Krishna in his internal life, and he's engaged by some gopikas to pick some flowers for the divine couple, Radha and Krishna, who'd gone into one of the caves at Govardhana. And Guru Maharaj said that in that stage, or in that phase of his life, Lord Chaitanya was tasting that Manjari Baba. So that's those are the two primary opportunities that modern followers of Lord Chaitanya have. And sometimes we see like an exception. Somebody maybe naturally is inclined for whatever reason to enter maybe Vatsalya Ras. And they're still part of our group. And the primary example that I can think of is like Vamsidas Babaji. And Vamsidas Babaji was one of the not colleagues, but contemporaries of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Srila Prabhupada. And he was an avadut, and he was a Babaji, but his feelings of Krishna were parental. And so he would talk with the deities and cook for the deities and worship his deities every day. But he would spend time talking and exchanging with the deities, and he would educate Krishna and give him some lessons about, I don't know, grammar or school lessons or something like that. And he would punish Krishna, he'd get angry with Krishna. So that would be Vatsalya Baba, but that's not one of the primary windows of opportunity.
Pero no es una de las principales ventanas
in our particular lineage.
En nuestro linaje particular. ¿Eso ayuda?
Yes, thank you very much. Sí, I'm hearing these concepts.
Wait.
Oh.
Creo que
are you on English channel?
Yes, I got it now.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much.
Muchas gracias.
I've been hearing the concepts, and I've listened to all the classes, and but that was an incredibly helpful structure in which to understand these concepts. So I appreciate that.
Muy útil para comprender estos
I'm glad I could help.
Okay, muchas gracias. Me alegro de que pueda ayudar.
I'm in New Jersey.
¿Dónde estás, Matthew?
Okay.
Estoy en New Jersey.
Nice to meet you.
Okay,
Never met before. I'm here in North Carolina in the States.
Estoy aquí en Carolina del Norte.
Thank you for your question.
Muchas gracias por tu pregunta.
Okay. So thank all of you very much.
Entonces, bueno, muchas gracias a todos.
Been a pleasure talking with all of you.
Ha sido un placer el estar compartiendo con
ustedes. Thank you for all your
ustedes.
patience and thank you for
Gracias por
giving me
toda
your
su paciencia
association.
y por brindarme su asociación.
Sri Sadhu Sangha ki jai.
Sri Sadhu Sangha ki jai.
Sri Govardhana Hill ki jai. Sri
Sri
Guru Maharaj
Govardhana
ki jai.
Hill
Chaitanya
ki jai.
Mahaprabhu ki jai.
Jai.
And so tomorrow, Guru
Entonces
Maharaj will
mañana
be on.
Guru Maharaj va a
So
estar
hopefully we get to take advantage of his association.
en la clase y ojalá tengamos la
More,
oportunidad
I think,
de tomar
very
provecho de
soon,
su
I think,
asociación.
let's see, Tattva Vivek has a whole new schedule coming up for December. So we'll have
Y Tattva Viveka tiene un nuevo,
some of the same folks and some new folks as well.
Nuevas
So thank
clases
all of
en
you very
diciembre.
much. I hope you have a
Así que,
wonderful
bueno,
day.
muchas
Hare
gracias.
Krishna.
Espero que tengan muy lindo día.
Shriman
Hare Krishna.
Kanarandas Prabhu ki
Jai.
jai.